Call meeting to order. Shelley, can you do a roll call, please?
District 1, Councilman Rios.
Here.
District 3, Councilman Latham.
Present.
District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilwoman Giles.
Present.
District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mayor Camaros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, your wisdom, and your support as we begin our meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a council and to nurture the bonds of our community. Fill us with your grace, Lord, as we make decisions, and remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the service of our community. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Charlene, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go to summary of current events, and we'll start with Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank those brave individuals that were out helping assist Miami with their devastating fire they had going on there. I want to thank everybody that's here today, and hopefully we get some good candidates and it goes smooth. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jesse. Mike?
I just have a few things, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to remind everybody this Saturday is the Dylan Irvin Foundation at the Miami High School, and that's at 1:30 starting time till 6:30 that evening. So if you can make it there, it'd be definitely a good cause, and I'm sure Don and Angela would definitely appreciate your attendance there. So thank you. And then I'd like to thank also, we had a horrific accident here the other day. The firefighters and PD, what they have to go through every day to see that that was a fatality on Mesquite in the 60, and it was obviously pretty bad. So what they have to go through to get their their day-to-day activities, I really appreciate everything that you guys do. So thank you. And then lastly, same as Jesse, I'd like to thank everybody that fought that fire in Miami. I've invited Chief Keith Thompson up here to give us a little details about what happened. And
good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. First off, I just want to stop and thank Glow PD, Glow Fire for coming out and helping us, along with Tunnel Basin, Payson Fire. It was a devastating fire for us. We will overcome this. Both communities have worked very well with each other as to correlating events that can come up to help us redo our buildings and get us back to growth. So just a quick basis, about 2:20 on Thursday morning, we ended up getting some 911 phone calls of heavy smoke in the area. Shortly after that, we got another one of a witness that seen some flames coming out from a building. All agencies responded, did an excellent job. The one injury that was reported from Tri-City was a very, very minor injury. The firefighters that sustained the injury actually continued working throughout the day there on scene. So again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the city, Chief Robinson, for all their support, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thanks, Mike. Fernando?
A couple things. First of all, the Miami Fiesta is this Saturday, so I'd like to see people get out there and enjoy that. I'll be volunteering at the beer booth, so come have a beer with me. I can't join you, but I can watch you. The other thing is I'm a member of a group called the National Association of Latino Elected Officials, and it's a nonprofit, nonpartisan. So what they really do is they raise money to help train elected officials just to be the best elected officials they can. And because I'm a member of that, I got invited to Long Beach this past weekend, and they spent quite a bit of money to train me on emergency preparedness. And we had people from the state, federal, county, and local levels. They basically showed us how to deal with disasters, how to respond, what to do ahead of time, what to do during one, what to do after one, how to get into the recovery mode, and things that you could do to speed up the process. And then at the end of the second day, we did a mock emergency where we were given a scenario early on and asked to decide what we were going to do, and then it progressed. So it was a fantastic thing that they made available to us and at no cost to the city. So really appreciate them doing that and investing in people to be better leaders. So
Thank you for that. Freddie?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I had the opportunity to attend the Andy Hall Memorial that took place recently. Those of you that are not aware or familiar with the story of Andy Hall, I when I spoke to some of the family members, I always remembered when I first came to Globe, learning of the hanging tree in downtown and what took place, and there were some criminals that hung because they did something wrong, right? Well, I didn't know the other side of the story, which was they got hung because they murdered Andy Hall. And Andy Hall was, if you just take the time to learn his story, he was a young man that pioneered the Colorado River through a company that he worked for, basically plotting, this is in the 1880s, I believe it was, somewhere in there, plotting the course of the Colorado River, and then migrated and ended up being worked for the town of Florence at some point in time. And then he was on a stagecoach that was bringing some, I think it was a $5,000 purse for a mine, like a payroll. And that's when they were basically robbed and he was murdered. So it's a piece of our history, no doubt, here in Globe and Miami. And I thank the Hall family for bringing that to light. And I appreciate their family, and I'm sure they did appreciate. They told me personally how much they appreciated all the city of Globe and the Gila County and all the people that in this community that helped them gather all the information that they needed to make this happen. So it was a great event. I actually attended the luncheon. I didn't attend all the events. I did have to work, but it was great. It was a great event. So get to know the Andy Hall story if you get a chance. The other thing is again, my hat's off to all the first responders that responded to the fire in Miami. Because of the nature of my business, I was there on scene about 3 a.m, making sure that my company and a couple of my staffers were out there making sure that we were moving volumes of water to Miami, because when I first got there and I spoke with Chief Rennan, they were using an immense amount of water to try and put this fire out, up to at times 3,000 gallons a minute, which is quite a bit of water at one time. And it was really awe experience for me, because the fire was just so hot and it was just so intense that it was just eating up the water. The water was just it reminded me of somebody pouring a glass of water on a campfire and expecting it to go out. But the staff did an excellent job. Chief Rennan, Chief Robinson, heading the forces of as many as 40 firefighters, 7 apparatuses, and just fighting this fire with everything that they could do. And they did an excellent job. You have to know that. These were professional leaders. I spoke to the Miami Town Council about it last night in Call to the Public. It's a big loss for Miami. It's a big loss for Miami's downtown and the history of Miami as well. So I think we can't let this just go away. We have to keep it in our mind and support the town of Miami in any way we can to help them rebound. So Chief Robinson, and I know we had our police force out there too. So excellent work. I just can't say that enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Shirley?
We attended several events for the Old Dominion Days. So what I want to say about that is what a well-planned and thought-out event that was. That board is they're all volunteers. They're mostly retired folks. They give so much to that museum. And I'd like to thank all of them, but especially Sheldon, because Sheldon Miller is the director over there. And if we could steal him, but we've been threatened. The city has been threatened if we try to steal Sheldon to come over here. So, but everything was well done. Every event we went to was very well done. The Center for the Arts did their one-act plays. They were so good. Just thoroughly enjoyed every one of those. There is a fundraiser for the Center of the Arts that's called Witches and Broomsticks. That's going to be on the evening of Apache G, which is Saturday the 19th. So it's food, some game, Halloween type fall games, and then there's going to be an art. Is it the art that's in the vault? I believe that is what the unclaimed art that's in the vault is. Some of that is going to be auctioned off. So it would be great to attend whatever you can. Apache G is all day, and then this event's going to start at 7. So, and it's over at the train depot on the 19th, Saturday the 19th. I'd also like to just say that all of our thoughts we continue to think of Ronnie Humphrey and send her good thoughts. It's not too early to start buying and donating candy for our Halloween. We had 6,000 people counted last year. The downtown did with the counters. We had 6,000 people. That's a lot of candy. So you can bring it here to City Hall, or you can bring it to the center, and they will keep hold of it until we need it. And lastly, I will not make Irene stand or point at her or anything, but when we got Al Gomeros as the mayor, we got a 2-for-1 here, that's for sure, because Irene gives as much to our community as Al does. And so she doesn't ever want to be acknowledged, but we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to have these folks give as much as they do to this community. So I'm not even gonna look at her. I'm just gonna say thank you very much over there in the corner. I'm all done.
Thank you, Shirley. Before I get started, I want to recognize a couple of people in the audience. Mayor Daly from Miami, Supervisor Tim Humphrey, and Town Manager Joe Heatherly. Welcome to our meeting. Thank you for attending. They've covered everything I was going to cover as far as events. The only thing I want to say a little further on the fire, thank you to Chief Robinson and your crew and for being there. And I was there at 3 in the morning. It's hard to get away from not going to the big fires still. So I was there at 3 in the morning, and it was, I was impressed, Freddie, from Arizona Water being in the command post and really working with the command to assure that we had a sufficient amount of water. That was great, and that was really good for you to be there because, that's what it's all about. And the water flows were great. I don't think it was any problems with water flows, but again, you have to make sure that you take care of your water supply in the process. So thank you, Freddie, for being there also. And that's all I have.
I forgot one thing. So when we were at the Andy Hall event, they went out of their way, the family went out of their way to thank specific individuals that are employed by the city. Pam is one here at City Hall, Jessica Cruz,
Yep.
Richard Thomas, and John from Public Works. They really helped them get all this going and did research for them. And this was a big deal because not only did they get to acknowledge their ancestor that, was killed here, but 17 family members of that family stayed in Globe. They stayed here for 3 days. They stayed at Dream Manor. They paid their bed tax or their motel tax, what have you. They ate here. They shopped here. They were here for 3 days. So that kind of stuff really helps our city for sure. And it's great that we have those kind of employees that go out of their way to help folks.
Thank you. Paul?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just a couple quick things. As you may have noticed, the very beautiful white dump truck out in the front of City Hall there, that we just recent addition to the fleet here. And I wanted to ask Brandon if he wanted to come up and say a few words about our new acquisition.
It rocked. That's a top of the line dump truck.
And it hauls rocks too.
And it hauls rocks too, yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having us. First of all, we want to start off by thanking you guys for getting the funds available for us to get this type of equipment for our jobs. Hopefully here in the future we can proceed and get more that is much needed. Truck that we were able to get got here a lot sooner than we anticipated, which thumbs up to Larry H. Miller. Truck itself is 2019 F650. It's 5.5 yard dump to a 7 yard dump, depending on which sideboard you run. It is a 6.7 diesel, and that's about it. So don't have to have a CDL to drive it. It's 26,000 pounds, non-air brake. Does have exhaust brake and trans brake. So, and unloaded, it will beat the heck out of your kidneys. So, but thank you guys again.
Thank you, Brandon.
Mr. Mayor, and also we have an Eagle Scout in the audience, and I wanted to ask Michelle to kind of come set this up for why he is here and what his goal is.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I actually went to school with Trey's mother. Trey Jensen is the Eagle Scout that's here this evening. He's going to talk to you a little bit about what he's planning for his Eagle Scout project. I think it's really neat that he's here. They live in the Valley. His mom, I went to school with his mom, and she obviously shared her love of Globe with him because he probably had the opportunity to do a number of things in the Valley for his project, and he chose Globe to do it. So we are very excited that he's here. His name is Trey Jensen, correct? Come on up.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're trying to do?
Yes. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My Eagle project is the cleanup of Mountain Breeze Memorial Gardens, like right out on the highway there. And I have family buried there, and every time we drive by, we see that it's a little overgrown with weeds and stuff like that. So I called and I talked to the owner, and he's just a really great guy. He's really easy to work with. It's been great. And I posted the Eagle project on Facebook and Growing Up in Globe on the Facebook page. And I got a ton of support, and that's where she talked to my mom and was like, I'd love to have me come out here and talk to you guys, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. My project is this Saturday from 8 to 12 in the morning. Like, any support I can get, if anyone could come out, just bring gloves, just tools, whatever you want. I'll be supplying like water for drinking and stuff, but if you want to bring your water bottle, that's okay too. To meet the qualifications for my Eagle, I have to show leadership skills, and I'll putting everyone that shows up into 4 groups, and I'll have team leaders for each group, and they'll go out and they'll clean up and hopefully just power it out. I'm planning to only have 1 entry so we can have a sign-in log to count the service hours. And I'm really grateful for DJ's Companies for donating the portable restrooms for the day. And I've been asked about donations, and all the donations will be going to J&S Towing, and those donations will be going to take the trash bags to the dump and stuff. And if it's all right with you guys, I would like to leave flyers. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
I don't know if he made the time clear. It's from 8 to 12, and I know that there's a couple events happening that Saturday, but the one that's it doesn't mess up the Dylan Irvin one, so everybody can split their time a little bit, especially if you have someone in that cemetery and everybody's driven by. And Mr. Jensen, he was so respectful to the owner and just wants to help out. Thank you.
And is it bring your own tools, weed eaters and stuff like that?
And there's no power supply, so they need to be gas or manual tools.
And Trey, if you want to leave the flyers back on the table, maybe everybody can grab them on the way out, and that would be great. So thank you. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, the last comment, next week, October 2nd, 6 p.m. is the joint Town of Miami, City of Globe Council meeting from 6 to 8 at the Center for the Arts. And so I appreciate everyone getting together and pulling this together so we can kind of sit and have joint meetings side by side and talk about our common needs and common goals. So I just wanted to remind everybody that that'll be happening. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we go to our first community call to the public, and this is a time when any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is not scheduled on the agenda may do so at this time. Time frame is limited to 3 minutes. You can just fill out a speaker card at the back. And if you wish to speak on an agenda item later on the agenda, you can fill one out to also speak at this time. I do have one for community call to the public, and it's Mayor Daly.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor. And the importance of it to continue to talk about and thank the City of Globe, Chief Robinson, Chief Rennan, to take care of that fire. But I want to give a little bit of history on why the fire got put out like it did. When I got on the Miami Council, Mr. Gameros was the fire chief. At that time, we had no fire coverage. Was in a debate with Tri-City over some funds. My parents' house burned down in Miami. Globe Fire Department was up there. They tried the best to save the house, and it was my goal to get us a fire department or get something going. We all went past that. Mayor Gameros got us together with Tri-City, and we did some negotiations, and we got new leadership as a town manager, and we paid our bills like we're supposed to pay. And from that, we moved forward, establishing IGAs with the City of Globe. I was doing that. Now we're at the contract with Tri-City. The day before the fire, we had our first official meeting with Tri-City to be part of their fire district. Hopefully that's gonna come back on the presidential election in 2020. And it's gonna take 51% of our residents to approve it. We'll need all your support. If you know folks in Miami who are homeowners, we have to have that fire coverage because a rough estimate, we have to get our checkbook out and pay Tri-City about $35,000, my personal opinion on how much it costs with all that manpower from all the agencies others talked about. But it comes down to, as mentioned about the joint council meeting, you know, we can help each other in these stressful times, but we still got to work together as we did out in the league and city conferences and show these other small towns that we're an example. We may have two different municipalities, but we're one community. And with our neighbors out there in San Carlos, but we can't survive by ourselves, but I really appreciate all the work from the City of Globe and all their employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next is special presentations, ceremonial matters, and we have none. So we go to consent calendar, and the matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate considerations. Members of the council and/or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow the action on the balance of the consent agenda. Accounts payable, $785,745.04. Consideration of approval of council minutes. June 11, 2019, council meeting minutes. September 13, 2019, Historic Preservation Commission meeting minutes. Consideration of agreements and purchases less than $25,000. Consideration of September building permits. Consideration of fleet report. Discussion and consideration to approve letter of commitment for the Environmental Protection Agency EPA Brownsfield Assessment Coalition Grant for fiscal year 2020, obligating 600 hours of in-kind staff activities over 3 years, and a request to waive section 2-4-10 of the Globe City Code prior to discussion rule. Review and discussion of addendum to contract number 019-0248 with the Pinal Gila Council for Senior Citizens to enter into a van lease agreement, and consideration to appoint Claudia Armour to the Library Committee. Do we have anybody from the staff, from the council or from the audience that wants to remove any of these items?
I would like to remove item H, just a comment.
H, okay.
Mr. Mayor, if there are no other questions or comments, I motion that we accept the consent agenda as read and remove item H for further discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of consent minus H. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. So we'll go back to item H, and that's consideration to appoint Claudia Armour to the Library Committee.
So I go to the library meetings. I don't make them all, but that is a very forward-thinking group of individuals, and Claudia Armour is a great addition to our committee, most definitely. What do you have to say, Adria?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I am very excited about the prospect of having Claudia Armour join the library committee. She's really active, even with the Friends of the Globe Public Library. She cares about our community, and she also cares about the library. So I agree with Charlene, Councilwoman Giles, that she will be a great addition.
She really will, and I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Is that a new opening, or is it an addition?
Well, we had Bobby Ravenkamp, who moved, and then we had another person that needed to leave the committee, which was Pearl Nancaro. So we have had 2 openings. So now we have, so that's one of those openings being filled.
So we still are looking for.
We can have another up to 3 more members. Yes.
Thank you, Adria.
Yep.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, you need a motion to appoint, and then also include waive the rule.
So moved.
And waive the rule.
Second.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second for approval and waive the rules. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adria. New business, we have no new business. So we'll go to action items. Action item A is council will discuss and possibly appoint by majority vote an applicant to fill the council District 2 vacancy as per City Code Section 2-1-4 after first conducting an applicant selection process.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, as per code, and Danny, I think you can throw the code up there. The process is very simple, yet it's a major decision by this council and any council in the realm of a tragic event, and it's something that I think this council has worked very hard to do a process that's transparent and good for the city and the council. Certified that they live in the district and are qualified elector. So, Mr. Mayor, this is something that I know you worked on a process and we've had our guidance from council. So I'm going to turn it over to you to go ahead and run this item.
And again, I just want to mention it's the intention of this council to be as transparent as possible and informative with a good understanding of the total process as we go through it. Again, this is tough for us all as we make this decision, as it is for the applicants, and I'm grateful that so many stepped up to be representative of District 2. So the first step is I want to invite those that are going to participate in the process to come forward, and we have 4 chairs up here, and we can bring you up, and then I'll explain some of the process with it. I'll also invite Chief Walters, who will be part of this initial process. What you will be doing as applicants, you'll be drawing a number to establish a sequence in which you will come out of our conference room to be questioned or interviewed. This sequence is only going to be used for the purpose of the questions, not nominations. So when we get ready to go into that room, you'll be escorted by Pam Leonard, and I think she's over here, into the conference room, and you'll be called out one by one in accordance to your number.
And so if we can have the applicants, we can join here in the front row, and then Dale's going to have the honor of letting you draw lots to see what order the interview will take.
And just to let the applicants know at this time, when you guys go into that conference room, this is the questions will be distributed to our council. This will be the first time that we've seen the total questions. Each council member was asked to submit questions in the past 2 weeks. We don't know what those questions are, but as you're in there, we're going to select those questions, and then each council member will select which question they're going to ask, and then and they'll get one question each to ask each. So you'll have a total of 7 questions, I think it is.
7 questions.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll have Chief Walters do the honors.
Okay, and then, Mr. Mayor, I'm just gonna quiz them on their numbers. Dan, what number did you? Dan, what number did you?
What number did you get, Dan?
I got 3.
3? Okay.
Yeah.
Tia's got 4. 2.
1.
And 1. Okay. So, Mr. Mayor, that will be set for the order as we ask them out to be interviewed. So if I can ask the 4 of you to join Pam Leonard and we go into the E-session.
Mayor.
Everybody will go in, and then we'll pull the first one out once we have the questions.
And please, we ask if you as you go in there, your cell phones also, that we don't bring them out as we're in there. And be patient with us, because it's going to take us a little bit to go through the questions. So until we get those sorted out, then we'll call the first one out. Okay. Thank you,
Pam. Thank you. Okay.
Can we recite the order again so I can write it down?
Steve. We got him? Okay, got him.
That's fine.
Okay.
And their full
And
names.
Shelley will have that sequence anyway.
Shinder.
Thank you. So we have the questions now?
So we're passing out the questions. These are the ones that were emailed to staff. And Shelley, is everybody getting a copy of the master list of? Okay.
So in the process, what we got is the questions from all our council members, and you may pick one of the questions that you submitted if it's more than one, or you may choose to ask somebody else's question. And when they come out, we only can ask the question in its entirety. We may ask for any additional comments or follow-ups. It all has to be equal to each candidate.
Yeah. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna go through by district and kind of explain what we've done in preparation for this, and then what options you have. And as council directed on the first and last question, which Mayor Gameros will ask, so he will start the questioning. He'll ask the last one, and then District 1, Councilman Rios. All 3 of your questions had a form of duplication, and so we had set that up with the possibility that you would ask number 2 of your question, because it's also duplicated by the vice mayor there, okay, because he had more questions. And you can change this if you want, but let me go through the whole explanation, and then they'll give you time. Councilman Leatham, you had also questions that were duplicated, and so the one that we had, just to start with, let you ask do you have plans, the question number 2 that you have, because 1 and 3 will be asked by other people. And then Vice Mayor, your number 1 and your number 3 were duplicates, and so we left you with your number 2 and your number 4. They should both be in front of you. And then it's your option as to which one of those you would like to ask.
2 or 4.
2 or 4. Just pick one and stick with it, and you'll be good. And then Councilman Councilwoman Giles, you offered one question, and it was very unique, and it's right in front of you, and so imagine you're going to stick with that. And if you want to swap up, you still have that option. There's nothing that says you can't change or dump a question or add a question, as long as you all have one. And then Councilman Shipley, your number one question was a duplicate, so that leaves you with question 2 and 3, that you have that option to ask either 2 or ask number 3 of yours. And so this is, Shelley kind of laid this out looking for the duplicates, and I think it kind of works out pretty good, because it's just down to if everybody's okay with that, the two members that need to decide between their last 2 questions. Any questions? Is everyone happy with the questions we've given you and the options? Would you like to maybe take one of your other questions or come up with something different, or are we good with these?
Mr. Mayor. Ready? Just for my clarification one more time, because just so I can be clear, you said all 3 of mine were duplicates?
I believe that, yeah, because number 1 was a vision question, and number 3, best candidate, and that kind of duplicates the mayor's initial question.
Okay.
But I have your other 2 questions printed out, if you would like to use those.
And I'm just picking one throughout the entire...
Yes, you got 1.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have those printed if you'd like to swap those out. And you can look at the master list and see what other people are asking.
No, I just want to make sure that I'm not asking the same question somebody else is.
No, I think that the one question that is landed in yours is the economic development question.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Councilman Shipley, any questions?
No, I'm going to go with number 2. So.
Okay.
Number 2.
And Vice Mayor, do you mind if we ask? Have you decided which one?
I believe I'm gonna go with question number 2 as well.
Okay. Okay. Councilman Leatham, are you okay with the questions that we've assigned? Okay. And so I think that covers everything. She's got one. And so the order for everyone,
Number 2.
we're not going to rotate the order. The order will be Mayor, District 1, District 3, District 4, District 5, District 6, and then back to Mayor. Okay. I know, no, they thought it was too complicated.
That was a lot.
Yeah, so I got vetoed.
So I got a question on the process itself.
Okay, and Mr. Mayor, when you're ready.
What's that?
I have a question on the process itself. So most of the time, we're going to ask all the same questions of all the candidates, but depending on how they answer the question, we're allowed a follow-up question for clarification, right?
It was the intent was that we not, because of time factors and because of fairness, that we not allow a follow-up. If you start a follow-up on the second or the third person, it doesn't allow the first person to have a follow-up, and so follow-ups tend to go down the thing. So our recommendation, staff's recommendation is you limit it to one question read the same way for each person, with no, only clarification would be a reread, and no helping the person out or no follow-ups. But that's
I think that's the way it was written, that we don't want, we don't want any additional comments or questions asked, just the question in its entirety, and accept that answer as it is. Because it'll, I guess we want to keep away from swaying one candidate, putting more information out there than another one with additional questions. Any other questions on the process? Once they answer their questions, they're allowed to sit back where they were before. They don't have to go back into the conference room. They'll come back into the audience.
Okay.
There's a 3-minute time limit per answer.
Yeah, we want to try and we'll mention when they come out. We'll try and keep it to around three minutes.
Yes,
for each answer.
Yes.
We don't have like a score sheet or anything? Nothing, right?
I didn't prepare a score sheet at all. But one last note is, and I think this is a common thing, on the last question, do you have any question for council? That there could be any type of response coming out of that, and we'll let let people deal with that one as they will. That's
Those could be directed to an individual, or it could be direct to all.
yeah. So that's the one we don't know what will happen, but that's that. Council had asked for that standard ending question. Do you have any questions for us? Okay. But
we good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, Shelley, our first
number one out. Yeah.
Okay. The first one is Steve Stratton, as I recall. Okay. Oh, there's my list. Yep. No, I think we're okay now. I think we're good. Oh, is that
district?
Oh yeah, no. If no, go ahead and
We're gonna
do
go
that.
one
I'm
through-
sorry.
we're going
So
through
Shelley has a
not gonna
copy of the.
like that.
Yeah, go ahead and
We did away with that sequence.
before we go, if you're happy with that order, Shelley has one piece of paper that has just your question on it and lots of room to write. So.
Thank you.
Mayor, will you be directing each council member to further question? Because I know we're going to rotate.
Yeah, it's going to be, because we're going to go District 1, District 3. We're going to go right down district. We're not going to rotate them at all.
Yeah.
We're just going to continue that sequence.
Okay.
I had a fairly complex matrix put together, but mayor's memo, memo was like 3 pages. Mayor's was 1. So, okay. All right. So then I'm going Shelley, do you want to invite Mr. Stratton out?
We never said what we were going to do about the motions when that. Okay.
How you doing, Steve?
Doing well, thank you.
I'll be asking the first and the last question, and then each council member is going to have one question to ask, and we're just going to go by district numbers 1, 3, 5. We're trying to limit it to trying to keep it about 3 minutes for the answer, just for sake of time.
3 minutes each or 3 minutes total? 3 minutes each question, or
3 minutes each question, yeah, somewhere around that. We're not gonna have a time or anything, but just to try and move it along a little quicker.
Yeah.
So I'll ask the first question, and my question is, why do you want to be a member of council?
so I can make a difference with the community. Having worked in local government for 20 years, approximately 20 years on the administration side, I have seen what a difference a council or a board can make, and was born and raised here as my father was and his father, and I love the community, and I think I can help it.
So we'll go to District 1 for question.
Mr. Stratton, please provide us your thoughts on how Globe City government can provide economic sustainability in our region.
Well, I think you guys have taken a big step in working with Miami the way you have, and it's a community and not individual cities and towns. The unincorporated areas need to be brought in and involved as they have been. I think we have to improve the quality of life the most we can, the best we can, and try and retain our youth the best we can. Part of the problem I see is housing here. We have to work toward housing, affordable housing, so that the people that are commuting right now, approximately 40–50%, I believe it is, from the East Valley, if we could retain half of that number here, it would make our viability a lot better. The money would spend here, and it would roll over 6–7 times.
Thank you.
District 4.
Hello, Steve.
I might.
What is your agenda, and do you have the same vision as the current council?
My agenda, I don't have a specific agenda other than to work with a progressive council, as this council is. If it was non-progressive, I would not have submitted my name. It's not my style to sit and not do anything. So it would be to support the staff and the council and help move the city forward and again, help the quality of life and betterment for our citizens.
Thank you.
District 5.
Steve, how best could you work with the 6 totally different personalities that are currently on the council?
That actually would be an easy one for me. As the manager, I did that. I worked with 7 different personalities. They were very different at that time. There was progressive and non-progressive on the council, so it was a juggling act. There were some new members and there were some very long-time members on there. They were all good in their own fashion, but they each had their own set of priorities, more or less. And again, it was a juggling act. So to work with 6, 7 different personalities is something I do all the time. I do it now on the ADOT board with the staff there and with the rest of the board members. The best thing we can do is help each other and try and complement each other to attain the goals that we need to accomplish.
Thank you.
Thank you. District 6.
What contributions have you made to this community that you are most proud of?
I think that the time I spent here with the city and with the county, again, was progressive. One of the things that I did for the city I'm probably most proud of is I accomplished 17 annexations, which doubled the size of the city, increased the revenue by about 300% at the time. That enabled us to do a lot of things, more things with the fire department, police department, with the roads, streets, and equipment. We actually did a survey at the time in the paper and came back the top 3 things were police, fire, and streets. And the council listened to that and enabled me to spend money there and help that. So that's probably one of my biggest accomplishments here. Just growing the city and helping with the county. The things we did, the county had a $9 million bond issue that I was fortunate enough to be in charge of for facilities and spent that money in well, I believe, with the new Public Works Center and the security at the courthouse.
My apologies, I think I missed District 3, right?
I thought he abstained.
If you were appointed, do you have plans to run to retain the seat of District 2?
That would depend on several things. First, it would be dependent on my health and my family's health, utmost. Secondly, if the council is progressive, again, I'll say I won't be sitting, I wouldn't want to sit on a passive council. It's not my nature. I would not do justice for that. If it's a progressive council and health is good and things are right, yes, I would. But I can't stand here and commit that today because I can't see the future.
Thank you, Steve. One last question. Do you have any questions for us, for the council, Steve?
I think I was asked the one question that I would have stated, and that's why do I want it, is to make a difference. It's to help people, to help things evolve and grow. And I think I'm uniquely qualified because I've been on both sides of the table. I've been on the administrative side for a long time, and I currently sit on the side like you guys. Although it was not elected, it was appointed by the governor and approved by the full Senate. So it somewhat is like that in nature. And I just, with my experience and the knowledge I have and the relationships I've developed over the past 20 or 30 years with some key individuals, I think I can lend that to the city and help further its growth.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to say that I'm really honored that you allowed me to get this far. And I know you have a very difficult decision to make tonight. But the good thing is the 4 candidates that are here, whomever you pick, I believe will do a good job for the city.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I would recommend that we stick with the modified order as we go forward with doing. We'll do 5 and then 3. Okay.
Sorry, Jesse.
That's all right.
Or no, 6 and then
Best
3.
for last.
Yeah.
I lost count on my fingers.
Okay. So just keep on that roll. Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of council, are you ready for the next?
Yes, we are.
Okay. It'd be
Who's the next?
Mike Pastor. And pull that mic as close.
Yeah.
Good evening.
How you doing, Mike?
Good, Mayor.
Mike, what we're going to do, we'll ask you, each council member will be asking you one question. I will ask you the first and the last question, and we ask that the time frame for response to each question is about 3 minutes. Okay?
Oh, you're going to trim down the meetings like you talked
You bet.
about last week.
Trying to get out here by midnight now.
Good. Let's go.
So I will ask the first question, Mike, and the question is, why do you want to be a member of the council?
Well, I've been in my letter to you guys, I explained that I've been a lifelong resident of Globe, Miami, and I've lived here in Globe for 43 years. Actually, 44 because I just had a birthday. So, and I've seen it during the boom years. I've seen it during the years that we've been struggling. And, I just want to be part of, I think you guys are pretty progressive. I want to be part of doing positive things for the community before I finally decide to retire from public service.
Thank you. We'll go to District 1.
Mr. Pastor, please provide us your thoughts on how Globe City government can provide economic sustainability in the region.
That's an interesting question. Well, you hired Linda, or you promoted Linda to your economic development director, and she's made some pretty positive steps. I think sometimes that we tend to look at economic development as going for the big stuff, big corporations. Years ago there was Home Depot, there was talk of, who was the other one? There was another one. But anyways, Walmart came in and that kind of upset everybody and it hurt the community. But it's been here, and we've gotten used to it being here. We had big supermarkets come in. Safeway still stayed with us even after they closed the big ones. The shopping center is improving. I think that we're on the right track. The city council's on the right track. I think Linda is ideal person to have leading that process. I think with the experience on the board, you've got a insurance businessman, you've got a manager of a water company, small business, full-time city employee for fire department, another businessman. And Jesse, I'm really sorry. I'm not sure where you work. I think somebody told me you work at the casino.
I was a casino manager, and now I
Okay,
manage the
yeah.
churches.
I wasn't sure where you work, but so there's a diverse group of people there that are going to have different ideas. And I think with my experience in public service, government, education, that I can offer a lot to the board.
Thank you.
District 4.
District 4.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
What is your agenda, and do you have the same vision as the current council?
I don't really have a personal agenda. I believe that if you come in with a personal agenda, then you're kind of rat-holing yourself into one position. Okay, I've always believed that, first of all, you have to listen to your constituents because those are the people who elected you. Okay, second of all, you have to be aware of your responsibility as being a steward of the taxpayers' money, because that's how you operate your city government. And I have, give me the question again.
What was your agenda, and do you have the same vision as our?
My agenda is just to work in concert with everybody on the board. There may be issues that we disagree on, and there may be issues that we don't have any problems at all. In all my experience, school board, college governing board, board of supervisors. There's times when we could all agree, and there was times when we didn't agree, but we managed to move forward. And as long as you don't make it a personal thing about, well, you didn't vote for me and I'm not going to vote for you. If you do that, you might as well forget it. You're not going to get anything accomplished. So you've got to be honest with each other. You've got to be straightforward with them, and the truth always leads you to the right decision.
Thank you. District 5?
Mike, how best could you work with the 6 totally different personalities that are currently on council?
Oh, I think it's great that you have 6 different personalities. If you were all alike, you'd be making decisions that you all agreed on, and that may not be the right way to go. You have to know what's best for the community. You have to know what's right, not what makes you feel good, but is this right? And sometimes you're going to make a decision that's not going to make people out here happy or make people up there happy. But you're representing your constituents, and as long as you do the right thing, as long as you feel you're doing the right thing, then you should be okay.
Thank you.
District 6?
What contributions have you made to this community that you are most proud of?
Well, my whole adult career has been spent in public service. I started with the Globe School Board. I was a long life Miami resident. I had just moved to Globe, and there was controversy with Mr. McKelvey and the Don't Fence Me In group. I don't know if any of you remember that. And it was a very controversial issue in the community. People were ready to fire McKelvey, tear the fence down because you're keeping our kids corralled out in the playground and they can't get to the school building. And there was a pretty radical group pushing the drive to get rid of all that stuff. And there was a very vocal group. And I had some folks locally who knew me came and asked me if I would run. And I said, I really don't like to consider running in a recall. But they felt I was, the guy to settle things down. And I went ahead and accepted that challenge, and that's where I started. I've always believed in if you can communicate with constituency and be honest with them, you don't have half the problems you think you're going to have.
Yeah. Thank you. Jesse, District 3.
If appointed, do you have
By the way, I'm glad they finally got your sign.
if appointed.
Now I know who you are.
Now you know who I am. If appointed, do you have plans to run to retain the seat of District 2?
Yeah, I'll tell you, about a year ago, some folks came to me, and not to compromise or belittle Councilman Humphrey, but some folks came to me and said that, he'd become ill, and he probably wouldn't be running next time, which would have been 2020. Yeah. And they asked me if I would be interested in running, and this was after I had left the supervisor's office. And I said, I think I'd like to do that, but I'll let me feel myself out on it, how I feel about it. And I stayed away for about 2 years here, and about a year ago I started coming to the meetings, see what was going on, and several people kept asking me if I was still interested. It's unfortunate that Mr. Humphrey passed away, but had he not passed away, I would have probably run for his seat because all indications were that he probably wasn't going to run again. So yeah, I enjoy the political arena. I've always enjoyed it. A lot of people accuse me of working the room, which I like to do. I enjoy going to, you guys just went to Cities and Towns. I used to go to that as a supervisor, even though it was Cities and Towns. I used to love that. I like going to those types of things and networking with other government officials. And I think I would be a plus to this council.
Thank you. Thank you. One last question, Mike. Do you have any questions for the council?
Well, I know that I think it's Title IX of ARS. It covers the cities. Okay. And I know that and for the counties, it was Title 15. And for the school districts, it was Title 11 in ARS. I love to read the statutes. I love to know. I do a lot of research, but I don't understand your coding. Is that a city code 2-1 or whatever? Okay, so I have to learn that document too. But I enjoy government. It's a great job, you know. So,
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
You may have a seat in the audience.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, are you ready for the third applicant? Okay.
Yes, and who is that?
It'd be Dan Schindler.
No L. Shinder, no L.
I was happy I got that much out. That's it.
Got the order right now, anyway.
No. Theo's next.
The last one. Yeah. That's an easy one, yeah. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. As awkward as it is under the circumstances, I'm honored to be part of the process, however I can be.
Thank you, Dan. You'll be asked a question by each council member, so a total of 7 questions. We ask that you keep it around 3 minutes for an answer.
Okay.
And I'll be asking the first question, then we'll go by districts as we go through the process.
All right.
First question, Dan, is why do you want to be a member of council?
I really believe I can make a difference and add something to the equation. Admittingly, my wife and I have only been here, December 1st will be 3 years, and I believe I bring a fresh perspective. Certainly not that there's anything wrong for people who have been here their whole lives or 20 years, but I believe that that's a good element to be part of the team. I think that's really the main reason. Yeah.
District 1.
Mr. Schindler, please provide us your thoughts on how Globe City government can provide economic sustainability in the region. I'm sorry, in our region.
And okay, as a whole, right?
Correct.
Yeah. That's a big question and a very important one. I think that opportunity is a big thing, and I also think that regulation to a degree, and what I mean by that is we all know that there's a lot of vacant buildings, not just downtown, but even near where I live. I live on the 60. I'm in the rust stucco colored building across the street from Knights Inn. And on the other side of the street to the east, you know, there's some old medical buildings. There's a lot of places that I believe if the right provisions are in place to encourage people to come in and open more businesses, that's going to create jobs, it's going to create commerce. And I also, as a professional marketer, believe that that's something I can add to the equation to get more people to come to Globe, spend their money, and then go home. No, just kidding. They should come here and shop and eat and see the history, everything from Beshbagawa, where the Salado Indians were from the 1100s to the 1400s, to the Old West history and mining history that we have downtown, and the surrounding areas, the lakes and everything. There's so much to offer here. You all have seen, I'm sure, the video that I made 5 months after I moved here, and I told my wife after 3 days of shooting, I said, I've seen more of this area in 3 days than the whole 5 months we've lived here, and it really opened my eyes to what a rich area it is and just caused us to fall in love with it even more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
District 4.
Hello, Dan.
Hi, Mike.
What is your agenda, and do you have the same vision as the current council?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
What is your agenda, and do you have the same vision as the current council?
I believe that I do. And again, I want to reiterate that I think one of the most important things in the vision is to bring more people here, whether it's to buy homes and stay, whether it's to rent homes and fill the vacancies, or fill the vacancies of the buildings that could certainly use some more businesses, to bring more people to buy, and for more people here to have more opportunities to be patrons of as well. I don't have a personal agenda at all. I really would love this position because I feel I have something to add from my business acumen and also my love for the community.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
District 5.
Dan, how best could you work with the 6 totally different personalities that are currently on council?
That's a great question. A big part, they're all great questions, of course. A big part of my background is working with people of diversity, not just of age, but race and color and just everything. My family alone is a blended family of white people, half Mexican people and black people. My wife and I have 11 combined kids together and 19 grandkids. So in my personal life, I deal with that every day. Professionally, I have a global business that works with, I have clients in 20 countries, and I have followers of my media company from over 130 countries. I just came back from 3 weeks in Southeast Asia. 2 weeks were in Japan for the first time, where we were invited with my music media company, but really to work with them to encourage tourism from the West. And it created so much opportunity for us to help them market certain areas of Japan, as well as a week in Singapore for the 3rd time. And Singapore is made up of people from India, people from China, and Malaysia are the 3 main races. And it's as diverse as Los Angeles or Globe for that matter. So I have a lifetime of experience of working with people of diverse backgrounds and beliefs and primary representational systems as well.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
District 6.
What contributions have you made to this community that you are most proud of?
The first one was definitely that video. It felt so good to make that, and when I saw how many views it got right from the beginning, in a very short time it racked up, I think, over 45,000 views, which is, I know how that stuff works, and that's a lot of views for a new video from a relatively small city and relatively small community. But the outpouring of people who know me from around the world that said, wow, so that's where you moved to, that's where you live, it really just, it validated what the video was for, and I'm very proud of where we live. I think that's the big one, the biggest one. I've done a couple volunteer webinars, or seminars rather. One was right here in this room to help local businesses and entrepreneurs with social media marketing. That's a big passion of mine. I offered to do a fundraiser through the Chamber of Commerce, but at the time I was told that it was voted not to do, and I never really found out why. But those are still things that are very high in my interest to help the community with what I have to offer. Thank you.
Yeah. District 3.
If appointed, do you have plans to run and retain the seat of District 2?
Yes.
One last question, Dan. Do you have any questions for the council?
I do not.
Okay. Thank you for your time, Dan. And
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, are you ready for the
last one?
The last, be Thea Wilshire. Podium. Get that. Adjust your mic, and you're good to go.
Testing. All right.
Good evening, Thea.
Good evening.
You'll be asked a total of 7 questions, one from each district, and we ask that in responses that you keep it about a 3-minute limit in responses. Okay. I will start with the first question, and the first question is, why do you want to be a member of City Council?
I love Globe. I love serving people. I am passionate about seeing the possibilities of our community and then working towards those and making them reality. I think I'm doing a lot of the work that I would do as a council person, as a citizen, but I think it'd be much more effective if I was a council person working to create public space, or working to advance arts, or working to beautify our community. So that is why I'd like to be on council.
District 1.
Ms. Wilshire. Please provide us your thoughts on how Globe City government can provide economic sustainability in our region.
I really think that with the technological advances of our era, everything is changing. Everything is being impacted by internet. If we're trying to just bring retail businesses into our empty storefronts downtown, I don't think that model will work anymore. People are not spending their money the same way they used to. So we have to turn the idea of economic development on its head. And I think that you are already doing that by bringing Linda in. I would want to see us doing a co-working space, and she's already ahead on that. I would like to see us trying to nurture new businesses and young people doing their own work, perhaps from their homes, finding ways to support them so that they can be improved. We're not bringing in a manufacturing factory of 500 workers, but if we had a whole bunch of our little businesses that could add 1, 2, 3, 4 workers, we could really have an impact. So I would like to see us kind of think outside the box and turn things upside down. There was a slide at a presentation recently that the biggest retailer in the world doesn't make any products. That's Amazon. The biggest hotel in America doesn't own a single hotel room, Airbnb. And the biggest taxi company doesn't own a single car, Uber. That's the reality, that things are changing dramatically. And we can be a leader as far as how we handle that in a rural setting, because it's more challenging for us, but we also have more opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
District 4.
Hi, Mike.
What is your agenda? You have the same vision as the current council.
Agenda is a pretty powerful word. Really as I was thinking about this and praying about it and considering, I really think that the council needs somebody who's had experience, because we're not going to have the League of Cities and Towns training for newly elected officials. So for whoever sits in that seat and for the city, we need to do a risk management move by bringing someone in with experience. I think any of the candidates could be great in a year. But for this time, I thought I need to step forward because I can. I've done this before. I can do it well. But it also will help me in the things I'm passionate about. I don't know that I'd call them an agenda, but I'm passionate about quality of life indicators. I'm passionate about people on the fringes being included in the community, feeling that they can make a difference and that they have a voice. That is what I have been doing, and it's what I'll continue to do.
Thank you.
District 5.
Thea, how best could you work with the 6 totally different personalities that currently sit on this council?
I just kind of want to start by saying I am a licensed psychologist, so I can work with a lot of different people. I can see and understand what they're trying to say below the words and the passion, because I've been doing that for 32 years. So I think I could work well with you. I also don't see a single person that I would be nervous about. I feel like each one of you I have talked with or I have interacted in a community setting. I don't see there be any issue working with the current council.
District 6.
What contributions have you made to this community that you are most proud of?
I think the community recognizes me for Old Dominion Mine Park and the 20 years that I've invested in that, and I am proud of that. But that was such a group of volunteers. I may have led them, but I didn't do all that work. That was 234 different volunteers from the community. Something that I did was the tool lending library. And that took 8 years of work to organize that, to get funding, to get space, to figure out how to do that safely and what the regulations around that would be. And I did that because I wanted to help reduce blight. Reducing blight on its own, I've done all sorts of things. So I think seeing Michelle just warms my heart that we have a code enforcer. I wrote I don't remember now how many pages, 55-page resource book for the community on how to reduce blight, on how to find resources for your home, how to recycle things. I have worked with Sharon Winters at the Solid Waste on coming up with ways to reuse things, created free cycle days here in the community. So I think I've got a track record of maybe 6 years of really concentrated work on reducing blight. Right now, I am concentrating my energy more on parks, and right now it's the dog park. Again, something I don't think I'd ever expect. When I moved to Globe, I didn't like dogs. I really didn't like them. I was a cat person, and 2 dogs adopted me here in Globe, and they turned me around, and now I am waking up in the middle of the night with ideas about dog parks. And that is where I currently am, and I think we will end up with the best rural dog park in Arizona. So.
District 3.
If appointed, do you have plans on running to fill the seat of District 2 and retain?
When I was approached in 2007 about being on council, I was told it was a 6 to 8 hour a week job. I was already doing a 50 to 55 hour a week job for the tribe, but I thought I could work that. When I got in, I realized that to do it well, it was taking me 20 to 25 hours a week as a council person. That was still doable until my work got even more intense. And so when I've been asked the last 2 years if I would go back on council, my answer has always been no, because I couldn't handle the intensity of my work with the tribe and the requirements to do this job right. About 1.5 years ago, my health started to break under the intensity of the work I was doing for the tribe. So after almost 20 years of service to them, I stepped down. And I've been reinventing myself as an author and a consultant, and I have time now. I have energy. I can do what is needed to do this job. 1 year from now, will I have the time? I hope. But it's really going to be a matter of what my life is like at that point. If I still have the freedom I have now, I would definitely consider it.
Thank you.
And Theo, one last question. Do you have any questions for the council?
I've talked to many of you individually before this position opened. I think I have a little bit of a sense of your heart and where you're hoping we go. I've read the materials that you've produced as a council. I know I'm going to have a ton of questions, and I am a questioner, but I don't have them right now. So,
thank you, Theo.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Would ask council if you want a few minutes just to gather your thoughts and everything before we move to the next step. Are we good with that? Just to absorb everything. I mean, they were excellent interviews, and I just want to make sure that we have all our thoughts together.
Take a little break.
Yep. Statements would be next. Mm-hmm. explain it as easy as I can.
Like we should be playing the Jeopardy song.
Jeopardy. Are we good with moving forward then? So our next step is in this process is we want to allow each council member, and it's optional, if they would like to make a statement to each applicant prior to going to vote. And we'll start with District 6.
This is really hard. This is really hard for me because all of you are fantastic people, and I admire all of you and have worked with all of you, and all of you are super talented. And so this is not an easy decision for me to make tonight. But I'm just so proud that you guys are all part of our community and that you're willing to step up to do what needs to be done to make us a better community. And I believe our best days are ahead of us, and I think that all of you do too. So I think no matter how this ends up tonight, that the city of Globe will be the winner. So.
District 5, any comments?
I couldn't say that any better. Well done, Fernando.
District 4, any comments?
Yes, this has been an extremely difficult decision as we have 4 qualified candidates. The seat to be filled is one of someone who cared deeply about the city. Mike was a phenomenal person and a really close friend. I'd like to thank all of you for your interest in becoming involved in making our city one we can be proud of. So thank you. Appreciate it.
District 3, any comments?
I just want to thank everybody that came out. I mean, it's amazing to see so many qualified individuals wanting to help grow and help shape Globe into what its future can be. Like the rest of the council has stated, this isn't an easy decision. But to reiterate what Fernando said, Globe is the one that will win at the end. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Jesse. District 1, any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank all of you well-qualified applicants for stepping up and taking on this opportunity. I do not take this responsibility and decision lightly. I've spoken and heard to many people regarding their recommendations, their opinions of all of you for this appointment. I feel it would be a great injustice for me to sit here and split hairs of each of you to be able to determine who is the most qualified. Because you all carry a highly qualified experience from your own current and previous leadership roles. Knowing this appointment is to fill the remaining term of District 2 vacated by our loss of Councilman Humphrey, it is my hope that you consider running in 2020 for a full term for the City of Globe Council Member District 2 and have the residents of District 2 elect their council member. I understand my decision tonight will be a popular one for one of you and unpopular for the rest of you. That said, I am obligated to do what I believe is right for the residents of District 2, and more importantly, what is right for the city of Globe. Because splitting hairs in this vote is purely subjective. Tonight, I base my vote on what I've experienced in you candidates and the involvement and engagement that you have with this current council, mayor, our objectives, goals, and vision. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Freddie. So my comments are, I want to thank all of you for stepping up to be representative of District 2. Excellent interviews, and like Fernando said, you're all well qualified for the position. This has been a tough decision, or going to be a tough decision for all of us, and we've been dealing with this for the last couple of weeks as we get closer to this. But as elected officials, we have taken the responsibility, and our code calls that we need to appoint somebody for the remainder of the unfortunate death of Councilman Humphrey. So my hope is that that you applicants will seek re-election in 2020, so your District 2 constituents will elect you. And my hope is that our decision tonight will keep us united and not divide us, and that our true relationship will remain no matter who that individual is that we choose. So I wish all of you luck, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for stepping up to the plate to be part of this process. Thank you. So I'll explain the voting process. The floor will be opened up for nominations for each of the 4 candidates. A candidate must receive a second in order to move forward to the final vote. During the final vote, each council member will only get 1 yes vote. Before the final vote, I will ask for a discussion prior to the final vote. We will then vote each candidate in the order that they were nominated. All votes will be recorded by the clerk by roll call, by a yes or no vote. A candidate receiving the majority vote of 4 will be assigned to District 2. And if we still have open nominations, even though if one got a majority, any open nominations with a nomination and a second will have to be completed at the end or at the beginning, either way. We need to make sure that we have an open nomination, that we complete it with a vote. Is that self-explanatory? Not really. Questions?
There's mud.
Well, I just assumed that somebody would make a motion. If there was a second, then there would be a vote.
Yeah, we won't vote on that right away. We'll go through the 4. We'll go open it up for nominations. If somebody gets nominated and they get a second, we will move them forward to the end, to the final vote, till we get all nominations. And then once nominations are completed, if there's no more nominations, then we'll move forward on voting on those individuals that got a second. Makes sense? You will have to get a majority of 4, or the majority vote of 4, in order to be appointed to District 2. And only 1 yes vote for the final vote. So we can't have multiple yes votes in the process.
So we'll be like entertaining 3 or 4 motions all at the same time?
We could, yeah. We could have 3 or 4 motions, yes. But they will have to acquire a second in order to move forward.
And Mayor, in the final vote, we only get 1 yay vote.
1 yay vote, yes.
For all candidates that made it.
The ones that go to the final, yes.
Okay.
Anything to add on with what our code calls and what our attorney?
Well, in this process, so we'll take motions and seconds, and stack those motions. And council will take motions until there's no more motions to be made. Every motion that receives a second will get a vote. The vote will be in the order of the motions made. But if there's two people who get a motion and a second, then every council member will have one yes vote they can make and one no vote. If three people get a motion and a second, then each council member will have one yes vote and two no votes that they can make. But it allows for multiple motions, and it allows us to finish the process.
That's awful. Who came up?
We are only allowed one yes vote for the entirety.
Yes.
So if you say yes to one in the first motion, you cannot say yes in the second.
Right. If you say yes to with the first line of vote comes up,
Wouldn't it be better just to do a motion in a second and then vote it up or down and then move on? That's really confusing. I don't want to vote no on any of them.
Well, yeah, none of us.
I'm not voting no on any of these people. They're great people.
I think the idea was for transparency, that anybody who receives a motion and a second should receive a vote, just so that everybody can be clear as to the vote. I think having the discussion was that if we go and we have three motions, but the first person gets 4 votes, that it's we'd like to see that those leftover motions to be hanging there. It just allows for everybody to have, of all the motions there, every council member gets to pick which one yes vote they're going to make. And when they get to that person they want to make that yes vote, they'll make that yes vote.
So then why not just put something in a hat and everybody put a name in there and see what happens?
But we want to give the opportunity to everybody to motion if they had that opportunity. That's why we didn't want to vote immediately. We wanted to put out a motion in a second and then move those forward, the ones that did get. If they didn't get a second, then they would be eliminated from the process. But I think it would be unfair if we just do a motion in a second, or do a motion and then vote on it immediately. I think we need the opportunity to, people, if they do want to nominate somebody, they have that opportunity.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Shipley, we had a discussion at one point about the foibles of the race to nominate. And the first one that nominates has an advantage. And I think one of the things we're trying to avoid is that race to nominate. And so every council member has that opportunity to nominate. And not only that, but every nomination will receive a vote. And I think that's where the idea that transparency and fairness on this, and you don't have that pitfall.
What if we all put a name in a hat, none of us look at it, it's a blind vote, whoever the top 2 are, we vote off between the top 2?
I wouldn't recommend that. No. I think.
No? Okay, this is going to be bloody. All right.
Any other questions before we move forward? So I will open the floor for nominations for any of the 4 candidates.
I nominate Mike Pastor.
Second.
I nominate Steve Stratton.
Any other nominations?
Mr. Mayor, you have a nomination. You're waiting for a second.
We have a second. I'm sorry.
If there's no second, then it dies for lack of a second. We can move on to further nominations.
Do we have another nomination?
This is so hard for me, but I'm nominating Thea. I think she's the right person for the time.
Do we have a second for Thea? Nomination dies for lack of a second. Any other nominations? So we will call for the vote with the one nomination that received a second. Is there any discussion on that nomination? Shelley, can you do a roll call on the nomination?
District 1,
Yay.
for the record.
Yay.
District 4,
Yay.
yay for the record. District 5,
Yay.
yay for the record. District 6,
Yay.
yay for the record. Mayor Gameros,
Yay.
yay for the record, yay for recorded 6.
So the motion is successful with a majority vote. And Mr. Mike Pastor would be the new council member for Council District 2 by a majority vote.
Again, thank you to all the applicants that applied. This has been very difficult for us, and I know it is for you too. And we just want to move forward and continue to do good things for the city, and hopefully you guys will continue to support us in that process. Mike, do you want to say anything as a new District 2?
We gotta get you on the mic, so we can.
I want to thank the other 3 candidates for the camaraderie that we had in there while we were waiting. I know each one of you individually, Dan. I've just barely got to know, but I know what you do and everything. So I hope that you will support me as your councilman. And to the city council, I know how difficult that decision was. It's tough sitting up there and having to make decisions like that, but I appreciate your support, and I will give you all my support as a new council member. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to late agenda items.
Mr. Mayor, we have no late agenda items.
Anybody else in call to the public, second call to the public?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Scheduling of meetings?
We have no updates on scheduling meetings.
Our joint council meeting on the...
Oh, we got the joint council meeting Wednesday night? October 2nd, Wednesday night. Mm-hmm.
Future agenda items, any?
We have no future agenda items unless council has something.
We have motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if you'd like, we can take a 10-minute recess and then motion to, or no? Okay. Just want to go straight in? Okay.
Motion to go into E.
Second.
We have motion and second, go in executive session. All those in favor signify.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Thank you.
Go, Nisa. Thank you very much.